It's nice not to be alone. I've been staying at Nettie Peterson's house, tending to her garden in her stead while she's at work. I just sit there reading in the sun, to be honest. When she came back from the larvae today, she was in a surprisingly peaceful mood. Not exactly happy or content, but satisfied. I made us some tea and we settled in to soak up the flowery scents and sweet air. I took the time to tell her in detail about meeting Kit Sutton in the grotto, relaying the other woman's message. It got a genuinely warm smile out of her, a sad one, but a smile nonetheless. Your server texted me earlier to apologize for, well, basically outing me and bearing a private secret to my closest friend of 5 years, she informed me. Now that I think about it, I have no idea when or how that boy got my number. Oh, but he was sweet. I told him we were cool. She took a long sip of her tea. Don't forgive him for my sake. If that's what's happening here. It's not. You really aren't mad anymore? I would be. I guess I'm just a very forgiving person. She gave me a sidelong grin and a shrug. Nettie, how'd your breeders die? I don't know if this is okay to ask. I hope it is. My savior human took a deep breath. It's okay. Just unexpected. It was a car accident. That's all there is to it. I was at summer camp when it happened. Some college kid got drunk, sat down in his car, and made me an orphan. I was 13. My auntie took care of me afterwards. You know, Elijah's mom. She tried, but it wasn't the same. She was too much for me sometimes, pretty often, if I'm being honest. My mother was so different. Both my parents were. My dad had made it into money, so they were never really worried about my future or what I wanted to do with my life. They said I'd always have their support. I guess that made me kinda sheltered, but I don't know. I had a nice childhood, Sumi. She sighed. Anyways, my aunt was really demanding when it came to school and stuff. I was always a good student, but my grades dropped after my parents' crash, and it never got better. So she was picking fights over that all the time. I did recover over my last year, but no thanks to her, I'll have you know. And do you miss them? Of course I do. Who wouldn't? I shrugged. Nettie leaned forward, catching my eyes. Don't you miss your parents? Or was that different where you're from? Breeders aren't like that at home. I paused. Weren't. They protected their offspring for the first couple of years of their life, but afterwards, everyone went their own way. And it was never more than that, just protection and a supply of nutrients. You wouldn't find any breeders kissing or cuddling their young like people do here. Oh, that's kinda sad. It's it? I never thought about it. Although sometimes I figure infancy in this dimension would have been a pleasant experience. It's nice being held. I wouldn't have minded it, had I known that feeling sooner. I raised my head to smile at her. Then again, you've given me a lot in that regard. Nettie reached out to squeeze my hand. Baby girl. She said nothing else for a while. So, what's this about Eli having to get his car fixed? One of the windows got smashed in. I held her gently searching gaze. Nothing was taken. Baby girl. Baby girl. I groaned. A folder with an interrogation transcript from one of the murder cultists. Mary Markov gave it to me. And you didn't want to tell me this, why? I pursed my lips. Nettie Peterson crossed her arms, raising a brow at me. I came clean about dating the fishwoman, so you really owe it to me to keep me informed on any magical stalkers you got. I don't know that I'd call them a stalker. What would you call them? Jewel. My hand absently began tracing lines on my stomach. That's their name, apparently. The creep who hit on you and then disemboweled you? I don't know that they disemboweled me. They had to stuff your guts back in at the clinic, my savior human reminded me. Stop bringing that up, please. I feel so weak whenever I think about them. Totally helpless. I took a deep, cleansing breath before settling against the backrest of my chair, grounding myself. Then I unpacked. I'm turning into a regular unreliable narrator with my storytelling for this blog, aren't I? As you may or may not have guessed, there is another reason for me staying over at Nettie's the last couple days. Maybe she sensed it somehow. She claims to have mother's intuition, and even though she's not technically my parent, I believe her. Or perhaps Elijah Carter shared his suspicions with her. Either way, it's true. I seem to have acquired a stalker. I can't hold down a job, but at least I've got that going for me. Let me stay over at the beginning. The day after Eli and I had talked to Kit in the grotto, referring to her as Princess Chandra still doesn't feel right. I was driving out for gas. The whole time while I was filling up my car, I had this feeling that I was being watched. It was beyond uncomfortable, and I kept glancing into the rearview mirror during the drive back. I thought I could hear the roar of a motorcycle, but whenever I tried to focus on the sound or started looking for the source, it seemed to be escaping me. I double-checked whether I'd locked my door that night. In fact, I triple-checked. I was on edge. It was an eerie, uncanny sensation, like bugs crawling beneath my skin. I made dinner, then tried to sit still as I ate it in front of my television. I ended up calling Elijah. We didn't talk about anything important, but he was glad to stay on the phone with me while I washed up and got ready for bed. It might have been his pleasing dark baritone or the weary relaxation that always swings along when he speaks, but something about his voice helped me unwind. I ended up falling asleep while still on the call. I was faintly aware of him saying my name and then chuckling and hanging up when he received a snore in response. I have always enjoyed the transition into the sleeping state. My eyelids growing heavier, the world losing focus, my mind drifting off. It's such a soothing, peaceful process. I found that I dislike dreaming, though. You never know what you get. I've had all sorts of rattling dreams, ranging anywhere from nightmarish and homesick to sexually confusing. But this one truly took the cake, as they say. It started with me walking through an unfamiliar neighborhood that looked like an abstraction of my own. It was far too shiny and colorful, and not in an aesthetically pleasing way. I was not really walking either. My feet were heavy as lead, my bare skin unprotected from the harsh breeze assaulting my body. I kept staggering forward, aimless and confused, wishing for shelter but unsure of where to find it. My head was reeling from the hunger and desperation, and there was not a soul in sight to help. I started knocking on random doors, but nobody opened. House by house, I was getting increasingly frustrated. The knocks turned into incessant pounding, the sound mingling with my crying. The tears blurring my vision made it even harder to press on. Before long, I was weeping intensely, my steps becoming more frantic as I continued heading from door to door. Why was nobody answering me? I could hear people talking in hushed voices behind the walls. I could see their silhouettes flitting to and fro in the windows. Anger began to bubble up inside me, heating up my chest and constricting my throat. My fist became more forceful as it clashed with the surface of each door, until I started to throw my whole body against them. My sobs turned into howls of fury. I was beginning to yell obscenities and outlandish threats before finally my body started to turn. This wasn't the silent transition I was used to, however. I could feel my skin rip open as it gave way for my tentacles to spring free. Normally, it's like these extra appendages simply melt out of my body. It's not painful, and I don't even really pay attention to the sensation most of the time. But this was pure agony. I broke down in the middle of the street, wailing like a creature of myth. How could a dream give me this kind of anguish? I suppose I knew deep down that I was dreaming, and I willed myself to wake up, to emerge from this state. That's when a thought crossed my mind. Was this really a dream? It didn't seem like one. It felt way too real and structured, almost coming off as scripted. Like an experience that someone had thought up and planned out for me, vaguely meaningful, maybe in an attempt to prove some kind of point, maybe just to terrorize me. The realization had my blood run cold, and that little part of my conscience that was aware of this not being real went wild. What in the world was happening to me? Who was doing this to me, and just how? And yet, a spark of fight lit up within me over it all. I had to tear myself out of this trance by any means necessary. For a moment, I managed to push aside the pain and uncertainty, trying to focus. I pushed against the heaviness of sleep, through the fog of my clouded mind. Apparently, that was enough. The surreal, unnaturally bright world around me grew dark, and I could once more make out the familiar shadowy outlines of my bedroom. I was in the present, back in the actual, physical realm of the waking. The first thing I noticed was that my eyes were burning. There was a demanding pressure around my brows and lids, and my heart sank when I realized it was fingers peeling them open. My nightlight provided a soft blue sheen that came to rest on a chair that had been pushed up from my bedside, and furthermore, on the figure that occupied it. Their arms were extended, their hands resting on both sides of my face as they forced my eyes open. In the gentle cerulean glow, I recognized the shimmering vast irises of the cultist. A deep, almost primal fear took hold of me. This was worse than the not dream, 1,000 times worse. The cold that seeped into my bones at the mere sight of them sent shivers running up and down my spine, trickling through my body like electric shocks. I instantly started thrashing, or I would have liked to, except not a single muscle in my body would respond to the frantic outcries of my frenzied mind. My eyeballs had gone as dry as sandpaper, the painful sting penetrating my vision and setting my senses ablaze, paired with an accompanying feeling of nausea. And yet, I couldn't help but remain transfixed on that horrid stare piercing into mine. My lips parted a mere fracture of an inch, just enough for me to take in a ragged, wheezing breath that I'd meant to give way to a shout. Not a single sound left my parched throat, though. Still, the cultist appeared to notice that I was awake. With a sigh, they withdrew, releasing my eyes from me to blink furiously. The moment they averted their gaze, I covered my face with my hands, aggravated tears wetting my trembling palms. "You piece of shit," I pressed out the second I regained my voice. "You fucking piece of shit." I found myself unable to form any clear thoughts. My heart was thundering in my chest, my ears were ringing, I was a horrified, shaking mess. "I didn't think you'd wake up." There was genuine astonishment in their tone. Proper shame, too, I was just getting started. "What the fuck?" I breathed, still shielding my face. "How the hell did you get in here?" "Why, just why, what even was that?" "What, you think doors keep me out?" What a very human notion. I was slowly beginning to recover my wits, reason restoring to her throne. I squeezed my eyes shut, opening my mouth as my fangs came out. "You're not getting out of here alive. Calm down, okay?" was just having some fun. I was going to let you wake up, all right? Their disembodied voice came from my bedside. I'm here to talk, is all. I vaguely turned my head in their direction. I knew I shouldn't even bother. I should rip the bastard's throat out now that I had the chance. There was something there, though. Something in their words intrigued me. Besides, they could have easily killed me in my sleep, so why didn't they? There was something they were after. I figured I would have to tell Mary Markov about this, and the more information I'd be able to give her, the better. This feels like a fever dream, I muttered. Doesn't it? Jewel asked giddily. I get that a lot. Speak then, leech. What is going on here? I came to— Oh, will you open your eyes already? I'm not gonna try anything else, I promise. Cross my heart and hope to die. Don't you dare mock me. I tried to mask the tremor in my voice. Either you talk now or I swear I'll skin you. Okay, well, I'm here on behalf of the collective. You have 1 week to report to the warehouse. We'll have someone waiting there to welcome you. Simply put, you'll join our cause. But you know, you can sleep on it or whatever. Take your time. I'm sure you'll make the right decision soon, especially since there's only the one option, really. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Part of me considered the possibility of all of this merely being part of another, bigger dream, but sadly, everything seemed to point against it. What if I don't? Then we will come after you, and probably the rest of your little found family, too, Jewel explained nonchalantly. You're awfully sure I'd let you. Yes, you grow big, sharp teeth and tentacles, I get it. You're a menace. To 3 to 4 people. But if you're up against half a dozen, all armed and unintimidated by your admittedly glorious and utterly terrifying appearance, I imagine things would be different. I wanted to offer some sort of confident riposte, but I simply couldn't. A tiny voice inside my head actually agreed. So what is your cause? Or are you aiming to recruit me based on fear alone? Oh, not at all, I was just getting there. We want to, in essence, end all things. A brief silence settled upon us. I dropped my hands to lock eyes with Jewel, this time without any hypnotic side effects. They were beaming at me, my nightlight adding an unearthly quality to their bright, dimpling smile. What? Jewel's grin grew wider. Oh, you heard me, baby. We will bring about the apocalypse. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. It'd be a boon if we had another being such as yourself at our side for it. Another? Impossibly, the corners of the cultist's mouth curled even further, their eyes shining with mirth. They tossed their pale blonde hair, responding only with a huff of laughter. You, I whispered. You too. I swallowed, reaching up to massage my throbbing temples. Why do you want this world to end? You aren't native to it, right? But do you really hate it that much? Oh, it's not that I hate it. I just don't care for it all that much. Okay, listen, it's not gonna be a real apocalypse. It's just gonna look like it for a moment. And sure, the humans may or may not survive, they probably won't, not gonna lie, but it'll be for the greater good, and the two of us are gonna make it for sure. I frowned. What? You keep saying that. Yes, because you aren't making any sense. I don't get what you're trying to tell me. Jewel sighed. Well, I can't give you everything. Just trust me. You'll want to be on our side, you're gonna want to help us. Again, you literally have no other choice, so, yeah. You know, I've been asked to go on a murderous rampage by someone far more attractive before, and I still said no. Oh, you won't be doing any of the killing. Not much, at any rate. That's a great comfort to me, I said, without much sarcasm at all. Jewel tilted their head at me. I gotta admit, I do not get you. I kinda wish I did, though. Anyways, I guess I'll leave you to it, then. Good night. So you'll head right out now? Just like that? They twinkled at me. Want me to stay? Oh, Lord, no. Yeah, well, if you want to fight now, I gotta disappoint you. I'm not feeling up to it. I wanted to tell them that it was not their decision to make, that I wouldn't let them leave, but somehow, I thought better of it. Quelling the anger raging inside of me, I strained to keep my tone calm. What was your home like? What kind of a dimension are you from? The question seemed to catch them off guard. Please don't ask me things like that. Why? You, just stop. Their voice had suddenly become brittle and quiet. I'd rattled them. A warm feeling of glorious triumph surged through me like a wave. Do you remember what they called you back there? I don't. Maybe we didn't even have names. I really don't know anymore. I shrugged. Jewel rose to their feet a little too quickly. Their eyes were shining with moisture, and before they could wipe them dry, a single tear rolled down their cheek. To my complete astonishment, it hardened the second it dropped off their chin, forming a tiny, sparkling yellow stone. They caught it with practiced precision, hastily stuffing it into the pocket of their jeans. Excuse me, I gotta go. See you soon. Without losing another word, they headed out into the living room, and after another moment, I heard the front door slam. The noise of a motorcycle engine revving was carried in on the breeze through my open window a minute later. I stayed seated upright in my bed, staring blankly at the wall across from me. Thus ended my retelling of events to Nettie Peterson, taking us back into the garden. She regarded me with wide eyes, her jaw slackened. She then shook her head, letting out a string of incoherent murmurs as she sank back into her seat. I don't believe this, she breathed. What are you gonna do about this? You're not seriously gonna go along with what that psycho wants from you, right? Have you told the agency yet? No, I admitted. And I haven't been to the warehouse either. My week is not up yet, so that's probably okay. I really don't know what to do, though. Well, that's an easy one. You call this Markov lady, have her raid the warehouse and arrest every last one of those freaks she can find. But they won't leave it at that. They'll come after me. And you, too. Don't worry about me. I can hold my own. NLG. I'm not saying you can't, but... No buts. I'll be fine. Both of us will be. And I hope you know I won't have you going back to your apartment after this. You're staying here with me, where it's safe. Her eyes looked almost golden in the light of the setting Sunday. Let's go back inside. It's time I showed you where I hide my guns. I pursed my lips. Gunnes? As in plural? Oh, absolutely. She took me by the hand, pulling me to my feet with a melodic hum falling from her lips. I know I have a lot going on in my life right now, but Lord, am I grateful that this woman's in it.